You're listening to the Witchy Wit podcast, episode 5, Holistic Living. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
So, hello!
Welcome, everyone.
So let's do a little bit of a check-in. I guess I'll start. So I was, it's been a week of ups and downs. When last we talked, I think it was right after the election, but we hadn't gotten a chance to, we didn't know who'd won at that point. So I had all of that going on. I was checking every other hour. And of course, the one time I didn't check, that's when my phone just goes off the rails and it was called by some people. It's not yet called apparently by everyone. And so ups and downs, nothing to complain about. I'm just stressed. School is school. And we're just trying to get through the next week and a half. And then we have Thanksgiving break, for which I will be giving a lot of thanks. Check.
Awesome. I would say, what am I thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about outside of this podcast? I'm thinking about WAP. So the song. I'm thinking about the song. And here's one of the reasons. So I know it's been out for a little bit, but here's one of the reasons why I'm thinking about it. I think it's an interesting litmus test for people. Because it just like sees it, who gets triggered by what thing, So some people are supportive of the concept of like women owning their sexuality.
Yeah.
But they may be triggered by sexuality in general.
Oh, right. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
So it's been interesting. My niece loves it. My niece, I think, enjoyed seeing if her mom knew what it meant.
Yeah.
Just being, because, she's hip and cool and with it because she's young. And obviously my sister and I are not.
Yeah.
But I just think it's interesting, the pearl clutching that goes on with mentions of like women being pleased sexually and like liking it and even initiating it. Like, clutching of the pearls, all the clutching of the pearls. I'm just like, let's have some more of this, please.
Yeah, let's call a shovel a shovel. Yeah.
Is that like a spade a spade? I guess a spade is a shovel.
Yeah, it is. But the spade, they used to call black people spades, so I try to avoid the word. Yeah. So
I am educated.
Spade and spicks and all that kind of stuff. Well, all those words. Yeah.
I am getting educated right now.
Yeah. So I just say shovel. Call a shovel a shovel. Yeah. But it's funny that you say that because I never really listened to it till about, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago. In fact, a mutual friend of ours happened to mention something, I think, on her Facebook. And I said, oh, yeah, what's that one about? And and I did clutch my pearls at first. I was like, no, she did. Oh, my God. Shit. I couldn't even, get words out because every time it's like, whoa. And then I said, well, you know what? Wear it, girl. Do it. And I loved the video, and they're just actually like two cuties. I mean, I know I sound like a grandmother.
Can we quote you on that? They're two cuties.
They're two cute. They are. They're just like, because they're tipping through the house and the whole bit. I just thought that was just so adorable. And they're also talking about stuff like, I wish that I could be that open at that age, So,
absolutely.
So yeah. Get it, girl.
Get it.
Get it.
And I want to point out, though, I had this interesting conversation with a friend of mine who he identifies as queer, and he and I texted back and forth because there's a music video for this that's not the official music video, but it's a bunch of people dancing. They are men dancing. They're in heels and like great makeup and like
cool.
fishnets, and being honest, they're way stronger and more flexible than I am, and they can walk better in heels than I can. But the choreography is phenomenal, and I just love everything. And so about this video, and so we had this conversation, and because I sent it to him because he's a performer, and his response was, "I love it, but I don't like that it's men in this video, and this song is about women, and I want to lift women up in their sexuality." And then my response to him was, "I love it. I get that it's a song about women and women's sexuality, but I just want to like lift up any voice of like people who are not like welcomed by this culture wholeheartedly. So like, let's have people who identify as queer, and like there are people who are non-gender, you know, like in this video."
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was funny that he and I both were like, what? Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's so funny. I find that what just makes my heart swell so much is when you have something that's kind of outside the norm. It's for some reason, you know, it might provoke discussion or dismay or whatever, and seeing the different groups that embrace it, you know, and I just love it. Do you remember the song, "Oh Low"? Shorty get low, low, low.
Low.
My mother, now of course my mother didn't know what they were saying, because you know the rap goes by pretty fast.
Does she not like the apple bottom jeans?
I don't know what she heard about that, but she and her girls, they would try to get down low.
They would get low.
Yeah, they would get low for them, you know, because they were in their 70s.
Reasonable.
Exactly. But I love seeing that kind of stuff where this kind of cross-cultural or cross like age and things like that, and people playing and being playful. I think that's what it is, and I love seeing that. So I would love to see guys dancing to WAP, because they're in their way, they're embracing that too, right? So
I love it. Let's all like, wouldn't it be great if we all embraced things that were outside of our,
particularly things that make us clutch our pearls.
Yes.
You know, and just open up and relax a little bit. Yeah. We could build so many bridges.
I'm clutching my pearls with a smile on my face.
I'm so glad. As we think about holistic living, I think what's important is maybe for us to get started just talking about what that means to us. Because, you know, when you use words have a lot of different connotations, particularly buzzwords, right? And so I think it'll be important for us to just kind of say what it means to us, and recognizing we're not defining it. We're not saying this is what everyone thinks. This is just what Kimberlyn and Leilani think about holistic living. So I'll get started. I think the most important thing for me is this sense of being a part of the whole. Really, that term holistic for me means finding my space, finding my niche in the world around me, and finding the place that I feel good being, and that I feel like I'm being a good part of it. And so the holistic part is, it's not just maybe eating or drinking or whatever, but it's really trying as much as possible to get a sense of how I can be a part of this in a very natural and healthy way. And I don't know, contributing, but also feeding and being fed by my environment. What about with you?
So for me, it feels like a acknowledgement that things are not what they seem, or they're not as projected by our culture at large. And my feeling is the culture at large is trying to sell me something all the time, right? And that holistic living for me is the constant shedding of that, and the realignment and acknowledgement that I have a mind, body, spirit that are seeking to be nourished, and that there is also this other part outside of me that also is being nourished. So it's the remembrance that there are all these parts of me, and that there are also things outside of me that deserve to be honored and taken care of, like our earth, like the sacred.
Right. Do you feel as if you are actively countercultural? I mean, because it sounds like you're talking about what the dominant culture is trying to do, and you're trying to step outside of that.
I do. I definitely think that that there is this push and pull with, I live in the city, I live in a house. The house that I purchased, the roof does not face the right direction, so I can't get solar panels.
Gotcha.
Through our city's program, so there's like a push or pull. So,
Gotcha.
I'm not living on a commune in the middle of the woods, which, unless it's the 1 week when we're at witch camp, which then we are, and it's wonderful, and we eat amazing food. But, so there is this push and pull where I can't be this extreme, although I do have extreme personality things that I take things to extreme, but I do feel there is this push and pull with culture and pushing against that and making different choices
and being balanced, knowing that we're not living off the grid, that in our little tent. So for me, I think a big part of it, and I think I have it written down somewhere, is that I really want to reduce as much as possible my carbon footprint, but I also want to be able to live my life, right? And the balancing for me is to figure out what is the best way and the easiest way I can do these things. I can reduce my carbon footprint, but also, live large. I mean, because that's a part of it. Really, you don't want to be miserable all the time.
You do live large in a way that is really inspiring to me. Just a side note.
Oh, thank you. I try.
And like this, I witness it as being this very aware, like plugged in, light on way. Mm-hmm. But you also just like go for it, and I love it. That's one of the things that I love about you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'd like to say that one of the things that I think about whenever I see holistic living, I don't know, posts on Instagram or magazines, like as I'm checking out at Whole Foods or whatever, I do get really triggered and angry at sometimes the perception of it being this thing that is very expensive.
Yes.
And somewhat elitist mm-hmm. and privileged, and then this sense of like snobbery and like nose upness about it,
right.
Because it, there are a lot of things that are not accessible to everyone.
That's right. And it's so funny because a friend of mine back in New Jersey is really trying to create programs where she's in the inner city in Newark, New Jersey, or as we say, Newark, New Jersey, but creating programs so that people, inner city youth, and their families too, but you start with the young, can learn things that it doesn't have to be expensive, that there are ways that you can do this that doesn't disrupt your life, where you're sitting there. I just remember the Friday mornings with the co-op food and sitting there for 4 hours, and so where you don't have to do that, but you can still eat healthy. And her main focus is in getting kids to eat healthy, and to celebrate. What her big thing is to teach them how to celebrate without going to McDonald's. That the celebration could be something with healthy food that is tasty, and ideally we could see that in all parts of life. With recycling and I'll talk a little bit about a book that talks about that, and that I think is kind of helpful.
And there are some ties though to inequity, like the students mm-hmm. that I work with who are oftentimes are food insecure or who are homeless, mm-hmm. where they maybe are pretty they can move a lot or mm-hmm. spend time in mm-hmm. hotels, and there's you can't cook a meal whenever you don't have. I mean, and I even think so this is like my privilege showing. Like I even think like, oh, I'm cooking with a microwave again. It'd really be better to cook on the stovetop, I'm like, my partner and I were cooking in the kitchen a couple days ago, and like we started the microwave, and it caused my Spotify to kind of like garble a little bit because my phone was near the microwave. Yeah. And he and I looked at each other and we're like, pretty sure like that's not good for our bodies, So, but anyway, so then like I go back and then I go to work mm-hmm. and I'm, maybe taking my mm-hmm. kids' food, and what am I taking them? I'm taking them ramen, and I'm mm-hmm. taking them canned vegetables and canned fruits and canned meat and all the, and they don't even have a microwave. So here I am judging my microwave or my use of a plastic bowl.
Oh yeah.
And it's okay, Leilani, like let's like do what I can, but also have compassion for those who aren't or can't.
And that's another thing that one of the things she's confronted with is this idea that it's not just education, but it's also just the way our society is constructed. I mean, if you, like you say, if they're in a homeless shelter or they're a place like that, they don't have access to a refrigerator. So you can talk about fresh fruits and vegetables, but if they don't have a place to put them that where it's safe and they can access it, it's kind of useless to them, you know. But when you say, it's interesting that you were saying about, you know, making these choices and then how you might be perceived by the outside world, because that is something that I'm constantly confronting when I talk with people. And actually I don't talk to a lot of people about this anymore, but this idea that because I make these choices, that I am trying to say that you're a horrible person because you're not making these choices, and it has nothing to do with other people. It's just, this is what I want to do for me, and feel free to not do it. I mean, that's okay. I mean, you know, it would be nice if we all could figure out the best way to protect our planet and protect ourselves, but it's different paths. And I think that that's really important too, that particularly for people who may be listening to us, that I'm not saying, I can't speak for Leilani, but I'm not saying do what I do. I'm just telling you what I do. And then you might say, oh, that's interesting, I might try that, or oh, hell no. But that's totally fine. And so recognize I'm not preaching. I'm just kind of telling you how I roll.
It is interesting though, people's reactions that really have nothing to do with us, but instead, you know, maybe it's showing their own judgments on their behavior, because I cannot tell you that like the number one response I get when people find out I'm vegetarian is a lengthy list of reasons why they are not or could not be.
Or I only eat very little meat. I eat, you know, it's like, I don't care.
Like, thank you for sharing, you know, but it's like not, like that's not like why I'm doing this, to shame other people.
Exactly.
But so maybe this episode might be a call to people to like check in, like if they're feeling triggered or like whatever, to like check in about it with themselves, and to know that you and I are holding space for an explorative adventure around holistic living.
I like that a lot. Yeah, good point.
So with that in mind, maybe we could think about the fact that we can't do it all.
Yes.
At least I can say that I can't do it all. You know, because of many things: time, money. I work a 9-to-5. You know, a lot of people listening may have children that they're busy with, or other hobbies or things that they're doing. You know, so we can't do it all, but we can do something. And I know, it being in friendship with you for so long, and especially like traveling with you, like we did for the year for our apprenticeship. I noticed that we are both invested in it, but we come at it from different ways. So maybe just holding that acknowledgement that my path may look different than your path.
Totally. And the fact that we can honor another path. We can honor how someone else does it and learn, you know, and or not learn, just appreciate it. And I think that's, you know, one of the things that I love about doing, you know, Cali Witch Camp and traveling with you and talking with other people is just that I get into my head and I think this, you know, kind of blinkered and think that maybe this is the only way to do something. And so it's so refreshing to just see someone not even think about my issues and just do something else. Oh, well, there we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to do that, but that's cool that they do that.
And I like that too. Yeah.
So then maybe for the purposes of this episode, there's probably a jillion ways that we could organize this. And literally there have been books written about this and like entire podcast series dedicated to this. So while we can't go into that sort of depth, and this is just about our experience, maybe we can organize it by looking at the areas of mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, I like that. And recognizing that in many cases they're so intertwined, right? But it's a helpful categorization for us to kind of come at it. So let's start with mind.
Sounds good. I don't mind that. Oh, you're still friends with me.
Yes, I love you so much. So first of all, recognizing that everything's interconnected, right? So one of the things that I find so fascinating about, as we think about mental stuff, our culture encourages us, and I think that this is changing too. So I don't mean to say that this is still the case, but our culture encourages us to think of the brain as something separate from the body, and we're now just getting to understand the interconnectedness of it. And there's certain things that the mind does best, right? And it contributes. And so when I think about that, I think about, what can I do that will privilege that part of me for at least some time, because, I'm going through my day and I don't think. And so I like to be mindful.
You're so funny.
Oh, yeah, we might have to edit a lot of this. But I like to be, no, I do, but I do like to be mindful of what I can do to kind of refresh myself and refresh myself mentally. Because as a teacher, and I'm sure you have this, this experience too, as a teacher, we do so much stuff in our heads. And I have the tendency to be in my head anyway, right? So what can I do to refresh myself? So one of the things that I have a dog who's 100 pounds, so he needs to walk every day, and we go for a walk every morning unless it's pouring raining. We walk every morning for just maybe like 2 or 3 miles, and I find just getting out in the relatively fresh air, and exercising gives me a chance to just kind of just work, like just let my brain go free. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks or podcasts or something like that, and sometimes I just like allow myself to contemplate.
It sounds like a walking meditation almost.
Oh yeah, I have done that too. I've done affirmations and things like that. What about with you?
So for mine, I think it's interesting that yours was like a walk, which
Mm-hmm.
we could categorize under body,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
through that movement of the body, you find the work in your mind.
Totally.
So mine is similar to that, and I was wondering if it's because I'm so body oriented. But hearing you say that, like, I'm curious, it might be common in other people too.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the idea that I try to keep in mind is this concept that the mind, just like I go to the gym and I work out my body, I need to work out my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite ways to do that is through dance.
Huh.
Because through, there's all these studies about like if people do certain types of dances that require a lot of mental strength and like constant thought and critical thought and analysis, that it keeps the brain healthy and can delay things or put off things like dementia and other things that happen with the brain. So, I mean, I'm only 37 years old. I'm 37 years old. Need to do more brain exercises. But even now at my age, I'm very aware that I want to cultivate lifelong habits that help keep my brain well in a holistic way.
Yeah. And I know you do acro.
Mm-hmm.
Do you call it acro yoga?
I call it like acro or partner acrobatics.
Oh, okay, acrobatics. And I would imagine, I mean, it's so embodied, but that the mind is a part of that too. I mean, when you're involved in that, what, if you don't mind talking about it, what's kind of going on up there?
So that gets into things like flow, like states of flow.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
They're so good.
Yeah.
But also, I think any practice that involves this constant search for meaning and analysis of what is happening, and so I find that in my partner acrobatic practice, there's not a moment whenever I'm not like, my brain isn't going at 110 miles per hour,
right.
And the same thing with partner dance. So that's why I think that any practice like that, where people are thinking critically, is like good for this holistic living in the mind.
Good. One thing that I find so useful is, as you know, I do a lot with essential oils, and I think one of the things I love about essential oils is that they kind of go through the brain barrier. And so a lot of drugs and things like that can't. And so I find that there's certain oils that I use for mental stimulation. So there's when I have to grade a whole lot of papers, particularly early in the semester when they could be stronger.
How diplomatic of you.
I will use that because not only does it keep me alert, but it actually I feel as if I kind of get into that flow state where I'm being creative as I'm using my red pen, and and you'll probably hear me say this again and again because I use them for a lot of different things, but that idea of sharpness and focus when you're in the zone or you're in the flow is something that is helped by that. But it's also, to me, it seems like the healthier your brain is, the easier it is for you to get into that state. And the more you do it, the easier it is to get in that state. And I talk to some people for whom that is not a part of their experience. And so I'm so happy that I'm surrounded by people for whom that is a goal.
I really love your use of essential oils. Mm-hmm. That's not something that I have ever gotten into. I own some, but when I come over to your house and we're in your craft room right now, I like to call it, I think it's great. It's called a craft room, the pun on the word craft. I love puns. But I'm looking at a bookshelf and there's just all these bottles of oils on all these shelves and it looks like an altar to essential oils, which I think is beautiful. But I love it. I love that sometimes when we travel or when we're at like a retreat together for our group here, or even just whenever we would meet for ritual, I might say something and then like I see you digging in your bag and then you pull out an essential oil and you're telling me to use it. And I love that. Like I love that my life is enriched by the people who are around me.
And I don't know if we can use this to kind of segue into the body, but one of the reasons I love these is because they allow me to treat my body as in such a way that I am not taking in a whole lot of drugs and things that I then have to detox myself from, right? And so I love the fact that I can use, one of my goals in terms of my health is to try as much as possible to just kind of get out of the way of my body, like, do everything I can so then it does what it does best, which is to, reach equilibrium and stay above the wellness line, right? And so I use those, but I also use food, right? And different, and exercise and all that kind of stuff to help my body do what it does best.
When I had precancerous cells on my cervix, you gave me an essential oil to rub on my body. I'm blanking on which one it was.
Frankincense.
And I was like, well, never would have thought of that, and so that was really helpful. And then I also did some research into like what foods would be helpful. So I adjusted my diet a little bit for that. And so I thought that was an interesting kind of time of crisis whenever it was like all hands on deck. What can I do to like bring, like, obviously I'm out of alignment or something is going on.
That's a good way of putting that.
And not to like shame. I get really like about people or messages of like, oh, well, you created that. Like you created whatever it is in your body or you created that, and like, while I am a fan of the concept of like what we think about, we bring about, I also think that there can be like some toxicity in that. But I appreciated that there was this way that I could say, okay, like what can I do? What might I be able to have control over in order to like nudge my body, like you said, get out of the way, nudge my body in a healthy direction, let it, and then get out of the way so that it can handle it.
Right. And what I love about your approach was it comes back to what you said earlier, which is that you can't do everything, but you can kind of figure out what you can do and do that as much as possible.
Oh yeah, I read about this guy who moved to like Costa Rica and like totally alkalized his body and like he's like and I was like, that's cool, but I have a classroom full of kids to teach tomorrow when the bell rings at 8:00. So I guess I'm just gonna eat more avocado and greens and drink alkaline water. So
that was fat, and which is actually pretty good. I mean, good for you. Yeah, no, it's true. I would love to do, a year-long retreat. I mean, just think. It would be so cool.
I would have so much fun with you.
Oh my God, it would be so cool. And, we could, somewhere like, like in California or Pine
Let's dream big. It could be like Costa Rica or
let's do
like
Costa Rica,
Ireland,
Belize or something. Yes,
Oh, Belize. There we go.
Belize.
Okay.
You know, and so we, you know, the idea, and then we can hire someone. You know, because we're dreaming big, right? You know, to come in and make us healthful meals and massages, and then we can do yoga. We can do some acro-base.
Thank you.
You know, and I, you know, and I think that would be fabulous. And one day maybe that will be my life. But right now, like as you say, I've got when we're done recording, I've got grading to do. So we can't, you know, we could. If our priorities were different, but my priorities right now mean that I just have to do what I can and make small steps in some cases.
Can I bring up my favorite thing to do for my body, as in my wellness?
Sure you can, but I probably can guess.
Movement.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We're like 5 episodes in. I'm sure that everybody is like, "Oh my gosh, if Leilani keeps talking about dance and movement, I'm just like they're gonna throw their cell phone out the window while they're driving."
It's like my oils. It's like there's always no matter what your problem, right? There's an oil, right? So no matter what your problem, there's dancing that can do something for that.
So dancing is like my Kevin Bacon, like degrees of separation.
I love it. Footloose. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, but I love, for me, movement is just a wonderful way. Whether it's dance, like I do competitive dancing.
I know, you're so cool.
Thanks.
You're so cool. I love watching you dance.
I don't do it right now because of the pandemic,
right.
Which is actually like a whole other can of worms. But and then partner acrobatics. I'm really lucky that my romantic partner is also my acrobatic partner.
Yes.
Also, I went out to this like socially distanced outdoor rave on Monday down at there's this like thing in San Antonio that's like this really beautiful open air shops, the Pearl.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's greens. It's like a green space. It's just really beautiful. But they had this DJ spinning and everyone's outside and there's people like breakdancing and then there's people shuffling, you know. And like there's hooping, and so I just love nurturing my body in that way.
And being in an atmosphere, it sounds like to me you're in an atmosphere where everyone is being really fully embodied, right? And so you're surrounded by people who are like body,
like body, like mind of the body, like body of the mind. Yeah. But I have had experiences where, because you know I do work in public education, where I think I'm like doing my normal thing. I'm normal. I blend in with all other normal people. And then one time I sat down at a meeting and I was drinking kombucha, which, by the way, I think is pretty gosh darn mainstream.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
You can buy it at Walmart. People.
Yes, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah. Yes,
like,
you can.
Anyways, so I'm drinking kombucha at this faculty meeting, and someone at the faculty meeting, it's like a small group of us, and it's silent. Someone turns to me and they said, "Oh, like what are you drinking?" Because I guess I drink weird things. And I said, "Oh, I'm drinking kombucha." And and everyone's silent. They look at me and they're like, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, I'm replenishing my biome." And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh, you gave a weird person answer, Leilani. Like you should have just said it's like it's
tasty
like a
and
healthy
sweet
soda. I don't know."
Oh, well. But, you know, look, here's the thing. You're just throwing that information out there. Some people probably didn't even hear it because it was so far into them. And then others said, And next time you go, they say, where'd you get that kombucha? You know, so you said the right thing at the right time. You may not have felt it at that moment, but
feel like it.
Yeah, I know, but it sounded like that. So, what other things do you do in terms of? So we are talking right now about our bodies, but when I think mind, body, spirit, I also think not just my body, but the body of the world around me and how I fit in it. And so, I don't know if you'd like to talk a little bit about your experience of that.
Yes.
Good. I was going to say.
Well, so I think part of it is you and I are in agreement that it's not just about taking care of my body, my spirit, but like the body of the world around me. Especially because for me as a witch, I see the world around me as being a part of the sacred or being the sacred.
Right.
So it's an act of respect and honor to do my best to show up in a way that is as positively interacting with the environment and least destructive. You know, like I can't get solar panels. My roof faces the wrong direction. It really bothers me. And I'm like, darn it.
Yeah. No, I tried a while ago, and they said I have too many shade trees. It's like,
I know,
but it also keeps the shade trees keep my house cool, right? So it's like, okay, yeah. But what other kind of things do you do?
One of my favorite is the Dirty Dozen.
Tell us more.
So it's this list that is put out every year by the Environmental Work Group, and it's like the top 12 plants or like things that we eat, vegetables and fruits that so they test them, and they test like the type of toxins that end up on there from pesticides and other things with farming, both organic and like commercial farming. Or conventional farming, I think is what it's called. And so they do the test on it, and then it's like which of these things that we eat holds the most toxins and like pesticides. So I'm a teacher. I live in the city. You know, I don't have $1 jillion. You know.
Yes.
You
don't?
It's shocking. But it is important to me. So like, what can I do to eat better? You know, without, you know, Whole Foods, it's called Whole Paycheck, you know, coming out with like a bag of groceries that's like $7,000 is what it feels like. So
you've left your firstborn at the cash register.
Can you take a child? It's not my child. I don't have children, but it's one of my kids from school. Maybe.
Yeah, that's right. You know, whatever. Yeah.
So it's just, for me, it was a way of like, okay, so what if I don't shop all organic all the time? What if I just keep in touch with the Dirty Dozen and then try to avoid some or all of those?
Right.
And so the top ones that are constantly, the top ones are spinach, strawberries, and kale. Those are like the top ones. So I try to avoid buying conventional those things.
And apples too, right?
Yeah.
Apples,
and like an easy way that I like to think about it is, what are things that I consume and I eat the outer part, like an apple, you know, or a strawberry. And strawberries have extra porous outsides.
Oh, of course.
So this is just me trying to like logic my way. So when I'm walking through the grocery store and I don't have the list on me, I can be like, okay, so a pineapple, you cut off the outside.
So
those, like, that's normally on the Clean 15 list, which is like the Dirty Dozen's counterpart.
Okay.
Whereas
it's the good witch.
It's the good, right? Are you good witch or are you bad witch? Are you dirty or clean? Dozen. So then but then a peach, you eat the outside and it's a porous outside, so that's going to be that's going to be more receptive to soaking in those pesticides. So gotcha. I might try to do organic peach.
That makes sense. So just so you know, I have the Dirty Dozen on my phone.
You're freaking kidding me.
So when I go shopping, because I can never remember. I know. What happens is I remember the terms, the names, but I can't remember which list they're on. So I
remember feeling really strongly about eggplants.
No, but which way?
Which one is the eggplant?
Exactly.
Fun fact, the eggplant is on the clean.
Thank you. That's good to know. Thank you. And also I've learned that the less popular fruit and vegetable tends to be on the clean. Because think about it, if you're a conventional commercial farm, you're going to make the stuff that most people want. Oh, right? Yeah. So when you think about that, so if it's a less, what was the one? I can't remember the jicama.
She means a jacama.
That's a story for another day.
But that's a story for our When Witches Mess Up episode.
When witches go bad. Yeah, but anyway, so things like that where the less common fruit and vegetable, I'm told, because of that. If when in doubt, if you don't have your list in front of you, go for the less common, the one that's not as popular.
That's cool.
Because it's less it's usually less processed in terms of the farming. Mm-hmm.
So a shout out for the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15.
Yes.
If you are this is what I think. If I'm wanting to try and do better, but my personality is to go full and go hard.
Yeah, go full throttle.
Right? Which is, why I can't just like go social dance. I join like a competitive dance circuit and I compete
and start teaching
nationally, and then like I just can't do something a little bit.
Yeah.
So whether you're like that or not, if anyone's listening, like maybe this is a great way to take a step into being a little more intentional with what they purchase, and then also being aware and respectful of their pocketbook.
Exactly. Oh, I like that, respectful of the pocketbook, as opposed to like being cheap like me, but or being so yeah.
Or
So,
going to Whole Foods and
spending like
$700 on a bag of strawberries.
Your Christmas bonus. Yeah, yeah. Good, thank you.
Another way to not totally reorganize your entire life and move to a commune in Costa Rica when trying to be more holistic in our living is to just make some simple swaps.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of this, let's use this. And so one way that I did that was I slowly transitioned out of using plastic Tupperware and using more glass storage containers.
Yeah, me too. I have the glass. It does have the plastic on the top, but I know you can't.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, you can't. You've got to eat, right? And so but another thing that I've been experimenting with is with bamboo. So bamboo has now been touted as a safe, sustainable alternative to paper. In terms of cutting down forests and things like that, and other wasteful types of products. And so about a couple of months ago, I ordered, I don't know, about 30 rolls of no, it was 24 rolls of bamboo toilet paper. Yeah. And it's really good quality. I think I'm on my last one.
Is it chafy?
No, it's yeah. We'll go.
Wait. I've used the bathroom.
You've used it. Yeah, you've used it.
Is that bamboo?
That's bamboo.
I've been wiping my booty with bamboo.
Yes, you have.
I'm gonna call it bambooty.
But now wait till you hear how much it costs. So when you normally go, I guess, to Costco or whatever, and you get your 24, your 30 rolls, it's like, I don't know, between $10 and $20, right? Let's say $15. This was $60. So it was an experiment. I don't know if I'm going to continue the experiment, but I think when I'm a little more flush, I will happily do that, because so one of the things about papers, trees get cut down, they plant more trees. However, the old growth trees are the ones that sustain animal life and insect life. We're kind of going through insects are being what's the word? It's not exterminated. Going extinct at record rates. So that's not sustainable. And one of the things I'm thinking about is, how can we be sustainable on this earth? So bamboo is this wonderful alternative. It needs very little water. It grows like a weed, and when you cut it down, it just pops back up again. So I would like to encourage that industry, because the more people use it, the less expensive it becomes, right? And then the other thing is, I have bamboo toothbrushes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So here's the downside to that. I mean, it's great. They're very resilient, and they last a long time. They don't. So I've gotten used to my Oral-B's or whatever with they have the bend in them and have this and the grip and the whole bit. These are just like flat piece, like the old toothbrushes that you get for free at the
dentist office.
Exactly. So it's hard to I've got to like bend my wrists in strange ways that I've gotten out of the habit of doing. But so those are things that I do. I have the smallest dumpster that we can have in San Antonio, and I put it out maybe once a month, because I try to recycle and compost and things like that. So it's the small things, but that's something that I can do.
What I love is that you're reaching out and exploring, and maybe you won't buy the $60 bundle of toilet paper again, but you tried it, and maybe that speaks to somebody else who they don't want to worry about organic foods, but they'd rather just like put on their Amazon, like scheduled delivery to get the toilet paper I just think if we all try to do something instead of getting overwhelmed and doing nothing, then we can all just like celebrate and honor that we're all working together.
That's a very good point, because you're right. When you try to do too much, when I try to do too much, I'm tempted to just kind of shut down. And so, like you said, I mean, it's good quality. So Honeycomb is the name of the brand. So if you're a shout out to Honeycomb, maybe we can get a little bit.
Give us a kickback.
They're our affiliate. So yeah, if whatever you can do, whatever you want to do and fits into your lifestyle, I heartily encourage that. So mind, body, spirit.
My favorite one. Well, I guess body is my favorite one, but this one is like the coolest one.
Well, what I like about so they are so intertwined, but I feel when we start addressing spirit, I was going to say I really feel it with this one, but I really feel it with the other ones too. Okay.
But you really,
for reals, I feel
realsies.
it. Yeah, for realsies, I feel it. This is something particularly since the pandemic that this has always been a priority for me. No, let me take that back. It's something that I've said is a priority for me, but
you're getting real with yourself.
Yes, exactly. Being real and vulnerable.
Oh, that's right. Our tagline.
Yeah, yes. So, but I allow, grading, family stuff, running around, helping out, I allow those things to cut into time that I really say I wanted to spend just with myself in silence or affirmations or journaling or whatever, right? So I know so many people have lost loved ones, and this has been kind of a horrendous time for a lot of people. But the pandemic gave me permission to sit on my fat, happy ass on my back patio and just stare at a tree for 45 minutes. Oh my gosh, I cannot begin to tell you how nurturing that was.
You built a fire pit.
I built a fire pit.
Conveniently used in ritual like a couple weeks later.
Exactly.
Surprise, we're using fire pits in our ritual, and you're like, I got one.
Yes, a Samhain. I got back late that night and did a fire. Yeah. So yeah, being able to sit out and just see my grass grow has been so nurturing for me.
It's been miserable for me.
Okay.
The miserableness in me sees and honors and is slightly jelly of
the nurturing in me.
The nurturing in me.
Namaste envy.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. But what kind of things do you do that support?
You're like steering the conversation, careening off a cliff back onto the road of our podcast.
Oh,
the things that I'm an extrovert and I'm a high energy extrovert, and I'm definitely an energy witch. So the things that really feed me are oftentimes things that are in public, things that are around a group of people, like our circle. And so even though it's been painful to not see my sisters in circle and to see them in Zoom, it has really helped me get really clear. Like, how important is this to me? And what I've realized, it's hella important. I'm a lot like you. Like, I said it was a priority and I made it a priority, kind of, mostly, yes, but the pandemic really showed me that what a privilege it is to nurture my spirit by standing in circle with a group of people that I love and trust and care about so much, and doing this work that is so important to me. And then on top of that, priestessing rituals is like that, honoring my spirit, but even more, because then I feel like I'm not only nurturing myself, I'm nurturing my sisters, and I have this like key role in honoring the sacred in like the most direct way, because I'm literally like supporting the honoring of the sacred.
Right. And what's so heartening for me to hear you say is that you got a real sense of clarity. Like, you kind of knew it before, and with the lack of it, you recognize what a part of your life, what an important part of your life that energy, that community is.
What a privilege that for my adult life, once I've been in San Antonio, I found a community, and I get to go to this community, and the community supports growth and shadow work and working on our best selves. And, I mess up and I do things because I'm human or whatever. But
I think you're not whatever.
But then the circle is there to hold me accountable and then also uplift me. And then I work on, it's just so great. And then to have that taken away out of solidarity for all of my sisters. And I don't want to meet with us right now because that's not healthy and that would not respect all, I don't want to meet with the part of, that's not cool. But to have that contrast, and for me to grieve and mourn and to cry when we're on Zoom.
I'll
flip through the the Zoom things on my phone, and I'm like, everyone else is like smiling and laughing and talking about tea or whatever, and I'm just like, I miss everybody so much.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just like something you hold in your hand is not quite the same as sitting there breathing. Well, yeah,
breathing. Hence why we can't be a circle together. Oh my gosh, and singing, which is like a super spreader, I just see the red particle
super spread,
germs flying out, and
the little corona thing,
hanging out in the air all around. So we can't do that.
Yeah, no, we can't do that. We choose not to do that.
Yes, so we choose not to.
In as you say, in solidarity and in the interest of the health of our sisters, and knowing that means that whenever in the fullness of time, when we do get together again, you recognize and you can really, really appreciate that and how it sustains you. So in the absence of that, what do you do? What helps you? What helps your spirit? What
Well, if I didn't know that I was an energy witch before this, I certainly do now. Because I can't go to my favorite dance club and get my dance on.
Yeah, the sacred thump.
The holy sacred thud.
Yeah.
But I think for me, when you sing, when we do Zoom and we do chants over Zoom, that's helped me clarify that. And then movement practices on my own. What's a good solitary movement practice? Handstands.
Oh,
what have I?
You are such a stud! Oh my gosh!
What have I been avoiding because it's not like high energy and partnered? Handstands.
Right.
So guess what? I mean, everybody else is like, "Wow, it's so cool that you've been doing handstands," and inside of me, I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I can't do anything else that involves a partner." So but it's so good for me, and it's good for my partner acrobatic practice. It's good for my partner dancing. It's also just good for my brain. It's critical thinking. It's good for my body, and it's good for my spirit.
Yep, mind, body, spirit. You got it.
What about you?
Well, a couple of practices that I kind of play. I mean, they have been practices, but I have just been so consistent since the pandemic, journaling and meditating. And like I said, sitting out on that back porch, I actually got bird feeders. And this is a funny story. This is totally off track, and I won't talk about it too long. But so I put up bird feeders, and then I realized, okay, particularly when it got really hot in the summer, that I should have a bird bath. And so I was ordered something from, it took me, you have to do the research and read the reviews and all that kind of stuff. And I ordered one from Amazon, and then I was out watering my backyard, and I saw my neighbor had a big stone bird bath kind of back against his garage, like covered with crap and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, I'd buy that off of you. He said, you want it? You can have it. They had been carrying this thing from house to house. Someone had given it to him, and they'd been carrying it for like 10, 15 years. And apparently it's been there the whole time. He and I have been there. So 8 years. And I never saw it until I ordered one from Amazon that morning. Isn't that amazing?
It's so amazing.
But anyway, sitting out and listening to the birds, and there's a squirrel, and I have a spiny lizard, a Texas spiny lizard that sits out in the tree right in front of me and just poses for me, So that helps me. That helps me a lot. I miss so much being in circle, physically in circle, but that keeps me going.
I think one of the things to close this part of the conversation with is something that you and I both found to be true is, what is it that we're really passionate about? What feeds us? What is it that if we could pick this one thing to do, what would it be? And what we both discovered is that thing is likely that thing because it's nourishing all these different parts of ourselves.
Right, exactly.
So for me, it's dance. It nourishes my mind, my body, and my spirit, and all the other goodies. And it just feeds me. And you?
Yeah. I would say two things. I'd say just walking with my dog and walking around the neighborhood. And then of course my essential oils, because whatever ails me or whatever I want to go towards, it's not just making me healthy, but it's also helping me like spiritually, frankincense in a diffuser. And I just like gone, so yeah, those two, I think those two things they call to me. And so I suspect that they're probably the best thing for me.
So maybe a shout out to anyone listening. If you're thinking, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? Maybe don't get overwhelmed by thinking of all the things that you might do, but instead focus on what is that thing that you are super passionate about that calls to you, and then maybe see it's likely that because that is so like drawing to you, that it's likely going to be feeding these parts of yourself.
That's it. That's perfect advice. Yeah. I mean, don't do what we do. I mean, well, okay.
You don't got to do what we do.
Yeah. But do what we do in as much as we found something that kind of nurtures all of the parts of ourselves. And if there's something that you really super love doing, then it's probably that. I agree. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad that we can figure that out together.
Yes, indeed. So our poem, we like to end each episode with some sort of artistic expression, and it's been poems lately. And this poem is from a fabulous book I think I read from it a couple of episodes ago, called Earth Prayers. And it's a wonderful collection of poems by, Wendell Berry, Mary Oliver, tons of famous people. The poem that we're going to read today is actually one of the products of the UN Environmental Sabbath program. And this was a program back in the 90s, 80s and 90s that had a bunch of different types of artistic expression. And then some of it was poetry. There's a lot of poems in this book from this program. So I think it particularly resonates for me, and I think for you, because one of the things, as we think about mind, body, and spirit, so much of this can be about being in alignment, balancing all of those elements, and then balancing oneself in the environment. So the mind, body, spirit of the zeitgeist of the world, and being a part of that. And
it particularly talks in this reading about rest and the fact that we deserve rest, and that's something that mind, body, and spirit, resting my mind, resting my body, resting my spirit, but also rest for the earth.
Yes.
And so for me, it's a call to remember that for myself, and remember that through my actions, I can do that for the earth as well as myself.
Yeah. Brilliant.
We who have lost our sense and our senses, our touch, our smell, our vision of who we are, we who frantically force and press all things without rest for our body or spirit, hurting our earth and injuring ourselves, we call a halt.
We want to rest. We need to rest and allow the earth to rest. We need to reflect and to rediscover the mystery that lives in us, that is the ground of every unique expression of life, the source of the fascination that calls all things to communion.
We declare a Sabbath, a space of quiet for simply being and letting be, for recovering the great forgotten truths, for learning how to live again.
Beautiful.
May you declare a Sabbath for yourself in your mind, body, and spirit, in your quest for holistic living in whatever way that looks. Thank you for spending time with us here with Kimberlyn and I. If you're interested, a great way to help us is to hop on over to your favorite podcast platform and to rate and review us. Leaving us a review is really helpful. That helps other people find us, and you can help us in that way, and we would really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
See ya in 2 weeks. We hope you've enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Witchy Wit Podcast.
Email us at witchywit123@gmail.com. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Get exclusive content and support us on Patreon.
Stay witchy, y'all.